pledge allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, roll call.
Okay, Supervisor Varma?
Here.
Trustees Shaver?
Here.
Yeager?
Here.
Macredo?
Here.
Bendenagle? Bendenagle absent.
Okay, so we're ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, section 2.0 is public comment. I did not see anybody sign up on the sheet, so there's no public comment this evening. Item number 3 is approval of the minutes. Looking for a motion for 3.1, the regular board meeting minutes from February 9th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from February 9th, 2023.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Do we have any discussion on the meeting minutes?
Not from February, no.
Okay. Not hearing any. A call for the vote. All those in favor of approval of those meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. 3.2 is approval of the Mchenry Township regular board meeting minutes on March 9th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with discussion.
I'll second that.
And discussion.
So Gary, I noticed under new business on page 4, third paragraph up from the bottom of the new business section towards the end of the paragraph, it states you were talking about the hail damage, which is how we would intend the Home Depot grant to be used this year.
Yes.
Followed by the team to put together a team for the community garden. I think it's confusing. It almost makes it seem like the Home Depot grant is in some way going to be used for that. So I think we just need to separate those two statements and just make it clear that overall we would also, in addition to the grant, talk with Home Depot about assisting with the garden.
Oh, there it is. There it goes. So I can talk.
So basically where it starts with, he said that we will put together a list.
It's the third one up on under new business.
It
Supervisor Bradley talked about hail damage that we had due to the storms and some maintenance that needs to be done. He said that we will put together a list and they will put together a team to help with the community garden. It's actually, instead of community garden, that should have read with the hail damage.
Correct. What they're doing painting and stuff, right?
Correct. So there was an assessment, just to elaborate a little bit, there was an assessment done when the bid package was put together. There are things that are outside of what insurance is covering. So we put a list of those things together and gave that to Home Depot to see if their grant process would help us out. Mostly painting and those types of things that can be done, some fascia board replacement and things like that.
And they bring their own ladders and that type of stuff.
I would have to.
I don't know. We haven't got that far. I just talked to her this morning. We're going to go through it later on next week.
I mean, Jerry will help you anyway.
Any other discussion?
That was my only item.
Okay. Okay, so I'll entertain I have a motion from Adam, a second from Trustee Macredo. All those in favor with the changes that were made, or Adam Shaver, will you amend your motion?
I'll amend the motion to approve the minutes as discussed with those revisions.
Trustee Macredo, you.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor as amended, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion passes. Okay. Item number 4 is motion for approval of receipts and bills for the town fund.
It's Me, all right, we, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have on the 13th day of April 2023 examined and audited the amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, $1,288.67. Total bills to be approved, $15,946.68. Total bills paid prior to audit, $45,385.79. Total to be approved, $62,621.14. Total receipts, $32,289.24. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll vote. Supervisor Barba,
Yes.
trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Credo,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
Okay, item number 5 is a motion for approval of the receipts and bills for the General Road and Bridge Fund.
We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 13th day of April 2023 examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, $1,153. Total bills to be approved, $79,658.72. Total bills paid prior to audit, $21,149.26. Total to be approved, $101,960.98. Total receipts, $28,841.58. I move that we approve these bills.
I'll second it.
Trustee McCredo?
Okay, roll vote. Supervisor Barba,
Yes.
trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Credo,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
Okay, item number 6 is the motion for approval of receipts and bills for the Permanent Hard Road Fund.
We, the undersigned members of McKinley Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 13th day of April 2023 examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized the same. Total reimbursements to be approved, none. Total bills to be approved, $3,660.18. Total bills paid prior to audit, $25,437.89. Total to be approved, $29,098.07. Total receipts, $9,224.61. And make the motion to approve permanent harbor.
I'll second.
Roll vote. Supervisor Barba,
Yes.
trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Credo,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
Okay, the next item on the agenda are fund transfers. It's the end of the year, as everybody knows. 7.1 is need a motion for approval of the GRB, PHR, that's General Road and Bridge, and Permanent Hard Road line item transfers.
But hardly.
They were in your board packets.
Okay, I don't have
Do you
one.
need another copy?
Well, I don't know if anybody's got a copy of it. I mean,
The bottom one is first.
Does anybody else need a copy?
Yeah, I don't have one, that'd be great.
All right, let me go make some copies.
Okay. I believe the bottom is. Yes, that's that one in your hand is the
Right.
one from the,
Road Bridge.
correct.
Copy for permanent high road?
They're together.
Okay. All around. overhead, $40,000.
Yeah,
It is what it is, I'm just,
that's why that note is there. I called back there to find out what was going on.
wow, 40 grand.
The other one aged out.
That one goes on the Gradle, so it gets like, we can move it around a lot more.
Can we repair that ourselves, or do we send that out?
John, you want to pass?
The way I understood it, the way I understood it, is that, that attachment was done by, it was not done inside, it was added to the equipment, on the outside. That was the purchase price for all that, not only the boom mower, but also affixing it to the equipment.
How high in the air, 80 feet?
At least 30 or 40. Yeah.
I knew I was high when I said
Yeah, it's
80.
high.
Yeah.
Because when you're looking up in the Gradle, like you're like up like this when it's up there. Yeah.
I saw that attachment now for mini excavators.
Mm-hmm. Same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll trade you my sheet for it.
We're like the boom mow like side of like rock and like the road. It's just like you reach up there and cut like overgrown brush back. Yeah. Or over, I can go over like the guardrail and clean up an area and stuff like that. You know? Yeah, or down in the valley. Yeah. To clean up like hard area.
This is a different dollar plan, is it?
Trying to ride a mower down there.
This
Right
got
over,
47,000,
he
this
walks
is
down there, you
40,000.
know, where we can just kind of clean it up and leave it. It's just natural, we just clean it up and then just
So
get like mold.
for 47.9.
And then we just leave it.
And that's, these were the two capital
Oh,
outs,
okay.
7, 9, and 40,
Okay.
so they were combined.
Okay.
Right, exactly. You're welcome.
So I still need a motion and approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the line item transfer of $79,660.
I'll second.
Assume it's money, you're up.
Yep. Okay. Excuse me, roll call. Supervisor Barlow,
Yes.
trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Hager,
Yes.
Credo,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
7.2 is the approval of the town and GA line item transfers. Do I have a motion for discussion and possible action?
I'll make a motion for discussion and possible action. The town and GA line item transfers.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it for $35,038.
Any discussion?
You're not addressing the 1194 for GA.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, plus the 1194 for GA, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, missed that.
Okay, so the motion, you'll accept the amendment there and the second? Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion? Not hearing any? All the roll call, please.
Supervisor Barlow,
Yes.
trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Hager,
Yes.
Credo,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
Okay, the next item is new business. And the first item up for new business is the approval of MTF expenditures for the county 23-24. So, may I get a motion?
MFT.
What? MFT, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I see it right.
Yep. Looking for a motion and a second. For discussion and possible
I'll
action.
make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion on this worksheet? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for all those in favor of approving the
It's a roll
MFT.
call vote,
I'm sorry, yeah. it's
isn't it?
Money.
It's all right.
It's money.
Yep,
Okay, Supervisor Barlow,
yes.
trustees Shaver,
Yes.
Hager,
Yes.
Credo,
Yes.
all ayes, motion carries.
Okay, item 8.2 is a discussion on recording of public meetings, discussion and possible action. Do I
I'll make a
have
motion to discuss, recording of public meetings.
I'll second that motion.
Do I have any discussion?
What happened?
What?
So was this on the agenda as a result of the conversation, of how we record meetings, public meetings? Put this on the agenda.
I can tell you, under the Open Meetings Act, 2.05 allows any person in a meeting to record proceedings of a meeting. So in an open meeting, 2.05 of the Open Meetings Act allows the general public to record meetings. That's the will of the public.
I think the reason that was brought up, Adam, because there was some discussion on whether we could use the recorded,
You're right.
using the
You're right.
recorded meeting minutes versus the written. I think that's how,
Versus written.
versus written, I believe that's why it's even on the agenda.
Yep,
That was the debate.
you're right.
All right, if I could be recognized.
Certainly.
I did some investigation and research on,
Use your mic.
hello, I did some research on some software, and there is one available, and I've had it from very reliable sources, ABT in Glenview, and also the head of Greek Squad in Best Buy. It's called Dragon, and with that, it will actually take the recording and put it to print, which if we use that, it would give it an exact transcript of the whole meeting. So if there's anything, it can always refer to that, and that can be held as permanent record.
So from a legal standpoint, is a transcript considered meeting minutes?
Again, I don't think that's a discussion here.
No,
I think
I'm
what he's
not-
bringing up can be done.
Yeah, I'm not saying it would replace the minutes.
Oh, okay.
It would just be a transfer, that if there's anything in here, like we used to always put for exact quotes or whatever, refer to the YouTube. YouTube is not a permanent record. This, we could refer to this software, which can be held as a permanent record because it's in print.
Again, Danielle, I don't think that was a discussion. I think the discussion was into the legality of letting the recording serve as our legal minutes.
I think what Danny is saying is.
Yes, Danny's a
could we-
different debate, I
Well,
understand
no,
that.
I think in the same line of what you're discussing, could we utilize, it seems to me that the question is, could we utilize software to record some of the more anecdotal pieces of the conversation instead of saying, refer to YouTube for these comments?
Exactly.
So what Danny is saying is, it could help us accomplish getting the minutia of the conversation into a written format, but that's why when I then said my question, like ultimately, you still have to put the meeting minutes in the appropriate format, so then is someone, you know, to Danny's point, is someone then gonna take this transcript and somehow copy and paste it? You know, I don't know what the format is, but John, I agree with you. I don't think YouTube should be considered a permanent source of
Right,
meetings.
and I think we should allow, again, it's only my opinion, Danielle or the board should approve the purchase of that program to help the accuracy of the minutes. Again, that's just my opinion. Without knowing the value of the dollar amount on that, I don't think we could take a vote on that tonight, but I could be mistaken.
We could.
Okay, one comment I have, one comment I do have is that back on April 12th, 2022, I found a statement that Mchenry Township's meetings are being audio recorded only to aid in the preparation of meeting minutes and not retained as part of the permanent record of the township. So if you take the recording and create a written record, are you then asking that to become recorded with the meeting minutes and become part of the permanent record?
It wouldn't be recorded, it'd be in print.
But that was, Danny, that was my.
Yeah, I still think we would have to approve the minutes, so I personally don't see anything wrong with that.
No.
It's
No,
just
no,
an
I
aid for the
understand.
clerk to
No, I
write the
understand.
minutes, is the way I see it.
This
I understand
would-
what Danny is saying, it's Danny.
This
that
would
was-
be a written transcript of exactly what happened in the meeting, exactly what was said. not to replace the minutes. I would still do the minutes the same as I'm doing them now. It's just this would go as permanent record where we can't have YouTube as permanent record.
I think, yeah, Danny,
Can I make a comment? You're talking
Two different things.
two different
Two
things.
different things.
You have permanent record, which is your meeting minutes. That's the document that
Correct.
this board is gonna vote on.
Correct.
What I'm hearing, and I'm trying to avoid the whole issue of the recording and then this other document that's now created becoming a permanent record, which is then to be kept and then also to be part of the local record retention part where you have to then have it looked at and whatnot. So what I'm hearing and understanding is that the audio, and it's also in your agenda items, you have it here, that meetings are to be audio recorded only to the aid preparation, so the same language as
Yeah,
you said. So what I'm hearing is you have an audio recording, whether it's audio and video or just a tape recorder, and that tape recorder then, whether with Dragon, then takes that and creates this document out of it that you want, and then that document then is used for you in preparation of the minutes. Am I hearing that correct?
Not exactly.
Okay.
The
YouTube
recording,
has a translation also that can
Yeah,
be
it's
printed
translation,
out.
all right.
the recording could be recorded here, not taken off of YouTube,
Correct.
while the meeting is being taken. And that recording, all the Dragon does is take that and transfers it and makes it print.
Correct.
correct, that was my question, is then you intend to take that print and make that entire transcript a separate document, and I think this is what the attorney's getting to, do you intend to incorporate that as part of the minutes, or do you just intend to use that to help you prepare the minutes and maybe take those excerpts
As an
I
aid.
think
and
it's the
copy and
latter.
paste like the snippets that maybe were missed?
Yeah, I think it's the
into
latter,
minutes?
Adam. It's the latter, Adam, is the way I
As
understand it.
an aid.
It's an aid.
Yeah, it's an aid, I don't,
What's something like that cost?
$700.
I mean, I'm not against it, but it's, not- again, I'm one of many.
You would need two things. You would need the audio device to take that recording, and then you would need the program to then generate the print. or the-
And YouTube can already put out a transcript for you if you would like.
But we've seen those transcripts, Deb.
Any audio recording or device is gonna have the same thing. If they can't understand what's being said, then it's gonna transcribe it how it hears it.
Again, from my point of view, if it's accurate, and only if it's accurate, personally, I think $700 is worth the money to make sure that it's accurate. Again, that's just my opinion. But it has to be accurate.
as long as it's not intended to try to replace.
Correct,
Yeah, I-
correct.
Well, I guess it would be similar to purchasing any other software, and I'll use the recent lease of the bus software, is that you probably need to have a demonstration of that software.
To see how it
To see how it
does
operates,
voice
what the
recognition.
total expense is going to be associated with the software, licensing, upgrades, those things, what type of machine is gonna be necessary to run it. So it sounds like we're gonna have to buy a computer. And then what does the output look like? And then what is
Like
the
versus
clerk's
what we did
document
already?
going to look like at the end?
It's very possible.
I'd like to see all of that before we spend $700.
Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, Robert.
I have a little familiarity with the software, but a much earlier version, so it's probably not nearly as good. But I know some of the inherent limitations. It's only as good as the articulation that it perceives.
Correct.
So I can pretty well predict that there are going to be mumblings and soft voices and so on that will not be picked up accurately. The real value is to the clerk in terms of having a transcript. It's a heck of a lot easier to scan through a written document to find that particular part, just like when you were looking at the minutes, than to have to listen sequentially, say, okay, we have to get past this, we have to get past this. No, I went too far. It's much easier to do it with a print output. And then, you know, that would be compared with the normal notes and memory, and the clerk would be able to generate something of higher quality and accuracy than she can now.
You're right, though, all of us really love to use the microphone, and so.
Yeah, and that's
We're
It's
not
all
using the
about
mic-
voice
that's right.
recognition,
Yeah.
is what it is.
You have a
Depending
problem with
upon how-
microphones here.
Whatever software you're using or
Yeah.
medium you're using.
The
to
key
get
words
recording.
Robert said were quality, higher quality, and that's, I think, is key.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
so,
think it's worth, I think it's worth looking into, if it can be
No
proven to
doubt.
be high quality,
Oh,
then great.
And one other thing is, you wouldn't need a separate computer for it. I mean, your existing computers would be able to operate it, it's just something that runs on your normal PC.
I could actually record it on my iPhone, the same as we do executive meetings, and play it right back through the Dragon and transfer it to printer.
Well,
Well, now that's-
recording it on your iPhone probably wouldn't pick up people far away or something. Maybe it'd do better than the existing system, I don't know.
According to, I talked to Abs, and they are leading in the industry of electronics. I mean, I'd find it hard to believe anybody knows more about electronics than them. And they were very positive on this software, so.
I'm not doubting that they are very good at what they do in their job, but as the supervisor, I would recommend to the board that you see a full demonstration and a full cost sheet before any dollars are spent on it. It's an unbudgeted item also.
It's less than $1,000.
I understand. Well,
Deb, can Excel help us at all in this territory?
Say that again?
Can Xcal or help us in this area at all?
No, I've already tried.
Well,
As
say,
far
Debbie-
as,
Looking into similar programs for us.
sure, I could ask them about it.
Oh, yeah.
I could find out from Todd, yeah.
Yeah, being a vendor of ours already, they might be able to help us.
Yeah. So from what I know of, it's all based on whatever software and the recognition of voice. So you're using a public forum, different voices. Sometimes it might pick it up, sometimes it might not.
Can you see if
We've
that's
seen what the YouTube comes out.
correct? Well, I have not. Neither has the
Or
rest of
we
the board, I
have.
don't think.
Danielle has an IM.
so
It's not very accurate.
So to clean up the YouTube audio, we would have to get better audio equipment that YouTube is recording on. So you won't miss it.
It's positioning.
Well,
of-
that, and
Correct.
right, you need to have, we don't have like a top-of-the-line type
Correct.
audio here, guys. You know, we're not using,
Again, I'm all for helping our clerk, give the clerk the tools to help get the job done quicker and more accurately.
I get that,
That's all I'm saying.
I get that.
Here, the major problem is they want minutes are just supposed to be a summary of what happened. You know, it's not supposed to be word for word. So,
Okay, so
Otherwise, we're gonna go
Xcal
through-
is already responding because they must be watching. But they're saying that they can do some testing and looking for the Dragon software and see how that works.
That gives a
With what
demonstration.
we
that'd be
already
great.
have in place.
How soon can they give us a demonstration?
Yeah, I don't know, we'll see.
Dragon has been the leading program for a long time.
So I guess from 8.1, it looks like, pardon me, I took my glasses off.
8.2.
8.2, see, I took my glasses off, that's what happens. Trustee Shaver, would you be willing to amend your motion to table this till the next meeting?
Yeah, I'm meant to table it, and hopefully get some sort of demonstration.
And Trustee McCready, second that.
Xcal is on it.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Okay. Moving on. Discussion of ongoing emergency assistance. I need a motion for discussion and possible action.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to discuss and possibly act.
I'll second.
Discussion.
But this came about to the whole budget process, is where this came from. Because there were some questions on where do the laws come from that apply to emergency assistance? And believe me, I found everything when it comes to general assistance I couldn't find anything in any of the township code that had to do with emergency assistance. And we were debating not only the dollars, but the board has the right to approve or disapprove emergency assistance, but who actually has the authority to lay out how the money is spent? Is where I was coming from. So
and I think the way that the meeting was interpreted by me was, or my position at the meeting was, is that the board has the authority to either offer emergency assistance or not from a budgetary standpoint, and that the program was created and administered by the township supervisor, who's the acting officer on the day-to-day activities. There's no township code that specifies emergency assistance being part of the setting up of the program, the fine details that are dealt with day-to-day that are generated from the board.
And that was the question, Jim. Who has that authority to decide how the money is spent? Not only how much, but how to spend it.
Great questions, and I can get all that for you for the next board.
That'd be great.
Just so, I mean, that way you've got it
That'd be great.
in advance.
So before you leave, we'll get you a copy of this. This is the current program and how shelter, utilities, prescription medical, transportation is passed out and how it's administered today.
And I'll get you sections of the statute too.
Yeah, I can find
Well,
it.
you could just take that. I'll get another copy.
And to further the discussion.
And just emergency assistance, not general
Not
assistance.
yet, general assistance is what it is, we're not gonna
Okay.
touch that.
Okay.
Because, again, this is only my opinion, I'm one of 5. I don't have a problem if we have the electors decide whether we give emergency assistance or not. Because there was such a divide when we voted on emergency assistance. We went from one spectrum to the other, and we decided to do what we did because we could. But for the future, I personally wouldn't have a problem putting it on the ballot, the upcoming, let the electors decide if we do emergency assistance or not. I mean, it is such an important issue, we should let the electors decide it, again, in my opinion. That's a discussion for another time, but that's where I'm headed with it.
Okay. So, any further discussion on that topic?
Can I say something?
Sure.
I just got a quick question. So we're supposed to go over the new limits and everything for the emergency
already
assistance
did
on
that.
Monday?
Oh, no,
Should I be putting that off?
no, we already agreed on what the limits were gonna be.
So
in the
within the
budget.
budget, I'm still.
Yeah, we already agreed to all that,
Gotcha.
we're not trying to delay any of that.
All right,
I'm not anyways.
just double checking myself.
No, we
Okay,
approved
so,
all of it. We approved all of it.
I can do without one more meeting.
We're not looking
So
for,
you'll make your motion to bring this back for further discussion after the township attorney has an opportunity to review.
yes.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
So we're tabling this?
We are tabled until next meeting.
Means you're gonna be here again.
8.4, discussion on the elected officials' salaries. Need a motion for discussion and possible action.
I'll make a motion for discussion and possible action.
I'll second it.
So it was my request to bring this up at the last meeting. I think having gone through sort of the same train of thought of John's reason for wanting to discuss EA, having gone through the budget process and knowing that our former board sort of hobbled us in many areas, I think that we need to review township elected official salaries compared to our peers and counterparts in the county and in the state, to make sure that we're able to attract and retain talent and continue to have people interested in participating at all levels. So I had, during the last meeting, brought some information that I had gathered. I failed to bring that copy with me tonight. I think I gave all of you guys a copy of the last meeting of what I could ascertain with the local competitors, if you will, local other townships. But I think we need to start going down the path of a greater review in this area. Probably, obviously not tonight, but I think it's worthwhile looking into before we get to the next budget session.
Could you give us, again, another copy of that information you gave out last? Could you get it to us?
Yeah, I can email it to you.
Thank you.
How deep do you want the conversation to go?
Well, I think as a group, we need to determine what are we looking at. Do we look at state? Do we look at county? How wide of an area do we look at in terms of making a comparison? Do we do it based on households, based on electors? What's the basis for comparison to make a fair sort of comparison? So I think we need to determine that as well, so that I'm not for spending taxpayer dollars unnecessarily, but also I think there's been a lot of arguments made in the past year for areas of the township where we may not be as competitive and we may lose good talent as a result. I know we did a lot with raises and stuff within the budget, but that's only one component.
I think it's part of the discussion, not only do we need to discuss salaries, but full-time or part-time.
That's true.
Because they did make a lot of these positions part-time, or
True.
pay them part-time, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're talking about elected officials right now, right?
Right.
Correct.
Okay. We're not talking about staff.
No.
No.
Okay. Just wanted to.
No, I'm saying
So essentially
we've
there's-
addressed staff with the
There's
raises.
the
that we-
highway commissioner, the assessor, and the supervisor, and the
trustees.
clerk is what you're talking
And
about.
trustees.
Yes.
And the trustees, correct. Yep.
Yeah, we address one component by addressing the staff and the raises, and then this is the second component.
Correct.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So when you're looking at, I can only speak about the assessor position, but some of the things I would suggest that you look at are the size of the township, the number of parcels, the equalized assessed value of the township. And, you know, it can get kind of clouded by number of parcels. Like Nunda Township is, like Mchenry Township is the second largest township, Nunda's the fourth, and they're, you just have to look at similar things like that, and it's not just McHenry County. There's, after you get past the top, out of 17 townships, by the time you get to the 5th township, everything else after that is significantly smaller.
Correct.
And so you go into Lake County or Kane County, that would be my suggestion. The other thing is for the assessors, there are qualifications for the assessor, and there has been some change in the requirements for designations for assessors running for those townships that have certain, especially higher equalized assessed value, because, you know, more experience, more time in the field and that kind of stuff. So you really want to compare apples to apples on that, and again, even the compensation, that would include whatever benefits that are included in that as well.
Yeah. Well, perhaps, you know, obviously John asked how deep we go. Perhaps, John, we also, you know, we are one of the elected officials, but we also, you know, obviously we sort of have a responsibility to make sure this is fair for everybody, right?
True.
So, Mary, I think those are really helpful tips. If you could maybe just put that even, I know you've previously provided some documentation, but even just those quick bullet points, or, you know, Gary, same thing for you, Danny, same thing for you. I think everybody needs to sort of throw everything out there and we brainstorm what makes sense.
That's a great approach.
And if you're going to be looking at townships that are full-time or part-time, again, that's going to be determined on the size of the township, the number of parcels. I can tell you that even at a full-time in some townships, it's difficult. So that's one of them right here.
Sure.
So.
Yes.
I'd just like to remind the board that 2 years ago, the electors voted overwhelmingly to nullify the salary reduction, which was never implemented by the board, but that was the will of the electors.
That was.
Correct. I still got the petitions.
So, yeah, so that's it. So I guess, I don't know, do we, Is that something like we need to form a committee, or do we just keep having follow-up discussions? What's the best approach? From those of
You
you
know,
who have more
I'd like a
experience?
committee idea, because I think we keep it separate then.
Yeah, we could also
There's
involve
no-
electors too. I mean, good to get their input.
Again, it's not just our decision, I'm just,
Yeah.
for discussion purposes, it's not a bad idea.
So is there any legal requirement for us forming a committee?
No, just if you do form a committee that you have to follow the Open Meetings Act.
You know, minutes and blah, blah,
minutes
blah.
and all that.
Yeah. John and Mark, what are your thoughts on, do we form a committee, or do we just have to have that as part of a discussion in our normal meetings?
I say we use the document that Mr. Beltran mentioned, and that's the will of the electors. And I think that is a great place to start. Since it's already been,
That document strictly stated that they don't cut the pay, correct? Is that the way it went, Robert?
Right, it was
To
to
reinstate.
nullify the
Yeah, to
action of
reinstate,
the
to nullify
previous
exactly.
board.
Reinstate
to re-
everything.
to
Right,
reduce
so that would be a
the
starting
salary.
point.
To where it used to be?
Yeah, where it used to be, right.
that would be a great starting point, and it also shows the will of the electors.
All the electors were definitely behind it.
Can I just say one more thing? I want to thank you for starting to consider it now, because it really is something that it seems like hasn't really been reviewed or honestly looked at to say, this is what this job requires, this is what the appropriate compensation should be, to your point, Adam, to attract the appropriate people. I can tell you that even at the county level, our supervisor of assessments will be leaving next year, and that search will start, and they have some similar qualifications as the township assessors. But that will be there will be people applying for that from all over. Different job than the township assessor, but the same thing. The other kind of requirement is when you're running for office and you're elected in your township, you have to live in the township. So you have limited
Resource.
people to pick from, one. But if you are actually going to be looking at appropriate compensation, if there's somebody out there who wants to be involved in these positions, they can start to get prepared for that.
Yep.
And I know that the last time when they cut the salaries, it's like, well, if you were going to go through the training to get the qualifications you need for assessor, that would cost you a lot of money, and then you'd take a job and, it wouldn't make any sense. So if there is someone out there that would be, or quite honestly, even my current staff, I think we've talked about that. It would be like, well, if they're going to take a pay cut or lose their benefits, it wouldn't make any sense to go forward. So thank you for looking at it now and trying to prepare and make good decisions. Thank you.
Can I add one thing? The statute says that you have to do this a certain number of days before
180 days.
180 days before the new board is elected
Right.
into
180
office.
days.
But it doesn't say you have to wait until then. You can do this way ahead of time.
Do it next meeting, no doubt about it.
Right.
We'd rather have our ducks in a row
Then
before.
everyone knows what the dollar figure is going to be, and you can all prepare, and the people who are interested in running can have a realistic number to shoot for.
I agree, no reason to wait.
All right, so it doesn't sound like we have agreement on whether we do a committee or a general meeting. Why don't we just, gather some additional information, table it till the next meeting, and then review the information at the next meeting and determine if we need to form a committee or if we just discuss in the regular meeting.
Sounds like a good attack to me.
Okay, all those in favor of tabling this till the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. We will move on to item 8.5. The discussion of the clerk's request to have a deputy clerk. Discussion and possible action. Need a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I guess I'd like to hear from Danielle as far as the need.
I'm sorry, what?
I'd like to hear from you, like, why there is a need for a deputy.
Well, before, well, let's go back to like July. I took a position with a Christian thrift store. And before that, I was retired, so I could be at a moment's notice. Sometimes the hours conflict with several, it's happened on a couple occasions. My hours conflicted with the board meetings or whatever. So just in those cases, or if I get sick, it's been occasion, a couple of years ago, I've had a couple of problems. In those things, they would have a person to stand in. Also, the probability of my running for re-election in the next term, probably slim. That would give somebody to work side by side with me so they could step right into that position if need be. And I have talked to 3 people. One is very serious, and he's a very bright young man. It's Logan, is that his name? Debbie, how do you pronounce his last name?
Logan von Allman, the person
Yeah.
who works in the office?
Yes.
Okay.
He's very interested, and he's a very bright young man, so.
He's full-time employed right now by the township. I don't understand how he can be the deputy clerk also.
He wouldn't be able to.
Sorry for breaking the conversation, because I know me and Adam have already talked this summer. If it's something the board feels we should do, I'm sure me and Adam already have someone that's very qualified.
If he's interested, yes.
If he's interested, we actually already discussed it with him.
Yeah. And I'd asked Danny at one point, is this something that maybe we wanted to broadcast out to a wider audience? Is this something we want to open up for people to sort of submit that they're interested, sort of like we do when we're going to appoint a trustee? But ultimately, yeah, John is right. There's someone that, if he's interested, would be, I think, a great fit.
Are you guys gonna make that a paid position?
First, we have to decide if we're going to have one.
Yeah.
We're not there.
I'm just saying you guys didn't address that in your budgeting, just so you know.
We do not. So that might be something that then gets addressed as part
Yeah,
of
I think we have to decide if we want to have, or should have one, I guess is the correct way to.
Danny had mentioned something the last time this came up that, and Danny, just keep me honest if I'm maybe going down the wrong path, but when you became the clerk, you felt that you kind of stepped into it without maybe knowing all of the details, because when you took over the clerk position, the old board was on the way out, and so they were not necessarily forthcoming with help and information. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
So in the event that you are not going to continue your position, it may make sense for someone to have some of that more direct, not necessarily, experience is the wrong word, but just familiarity with expectations, process, all that type of stuff. So, I mean,
Here, I was very lucky because I had
Checking this back.
enough
We're on the same.
unbelievable support from both Debbie McCredo and Craig Adams. They were just wonderful, helped me go through it. But it was, you know, when you get elected, you know, basically, but you're going into this thing completely blind. First of all, I didn't think I would win. When I did, I thought, okay, now what do I do? So it's a learning process, and there's a lot involved. It's not just the minutes. It's not just this, it's not that. There's a lot of legal things. There's times that things have to be posted, such as the annual meeting that has to be a certain, like 15 days. So there's timeline, Open Meetings Act and stuff, you have to know. So that would give somebody to work side by side, you know. And it would be very rare on those occasions where I couldn't be here, but if I can't be, then they can step right in. We don't have to appoint somebody, you know, that's not familiar with doing the minutes and stuff.
yeah, so John, I mean, to your question, do we even do it? I think there's value in doing it for that specific reason, but than, if it's who we had discussed or anybody else, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. From my point of, again, only my point of view, if Danielle was talking about stepping away, it'd be a different conversation. So I don't know if we're there yet.
That's true.
This is what I'm saying. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Danielle. I'm just, speaking the truth.
Any additional discussion?
Who ultimately holds the decision if we will or will not appoint a deputy clerk?
Well, it's a two-step process.
Is it the board, or do we just approve who is selected?
No, it's a two-step process. So the first thing, the board would pass a resolution when authorized by the township board. What the statute says regarding, it's 75-45 deputy clerk, the township clerk, when authorized by the township board, may appoint the deputy clerk. So the deputy clerk is making the appointment. However, the board is giving that authority in order to do that, and usually what the board will typically do will say, if this is the person that you're appointing, we agree to that appointment, and we're gonna give you that authority to make that appointment.
Okay.
And then you would also put it in there that that person is an at-will employee, so that if there's an issue, they could be let go at any point for any reason.
Makes sense.
And to the clerk's benefit, everything that she's talked about would allow for that person to be, the statute allows for that person to take the minutes, write the minutes, to attend the meetings, be that assistant, so to speak, for her benefit.
So is it something we vote on tonight? Do we push it down the road again like everything else, or? Again, I'm just asking a question. I don't have a problem either way. Well, I make a motion that we'll decide tonight if we're gonna even consider appointing a, what's the word I'm looking here, deputy clerk.
Sure. I'll second the motion to decide tonight if we're going to appoint.
Correct.
deputy clerk.
Tonight or in the future?
Tonight.
Right.
Okay.
So now we ask the question. It's a or nay, right?
Right.
Well, go ahead. No.
Let's be clear
We
though.
have an attorney here, that's why we're
Well,
just
I'm a
going
little
down this road.
unclear about who's gonna pay for this.
We're not
Well,
even
I
saying
think-
the person's gonna be paid yet.
No, I think actually to that point, that the pay portion could be an uncertainty until we review the elected official salaries.
Right. Yeah, I'm not even saying we consider it whether it's paid or not. We're just, we even gonna go down that road.
I think what the board needs to do is that at the point in time that you're ready to appoint a deputy clerk, you would want to have that individual, whoever that person is, in your resolution, part of the document, so that everybody's on the same page, versus saying, we want a deputy clerk, we authorize a deputy clerk, but now you've just authorized somebody who we don't know who it's going to be yet, which
Jim, I understand what you're saying, but why should we go down steps 2, 3, and 4 till we decide one?
Correct.
If we decide we don't want to have a deputy clerk, there's no reason to discuss any of the other stuff.
then I don't know that you need a motion to approve that. I think you can have discussion and take a poll amongst yourselves as to whether or not you want a deputy clerk.
Again, we have a motion on the floor.
What's the motion?
The motion is to discuss the possibility of having a deputy clerk.
To eat.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be a
Was yes or
motion.
nay? Was yes or no? Right.
No, it wouldn't be to discuss it, we're doing that right now.
We're doing it. We're gonna decide
Or
whether we're
amend.
gonna,
It's two,
we're gonna
Amend
decide
the
if we're
initial.
gonna go down that road.
Yeah, or amend the initial motion to discuss to include, do we proceed further or do we quash it now?
Well, that's where I'm coming from. If we decide to have a deputy clerk, we'll make that decision right now. If we decide not to, then we're done with it, it's over. That's
So
where
I
I'm
think
coming
I
from.
made the initial motion, or did you?
I did it.
You did, I seconded. So John, you want to amend your motion?
No, I want to decide tonight
You want it, okay.
if we're gonna decide to have a deputy clerk or not. Why continue the conversation if we don't agree on having one?
No, saying amend you were the one who made the motion to discuss this. So if you amend your
And then I
initial.
made the motion to decide if we're even gonna have the ability to appoint a deputy clerk.
As, you know, I'll offer my opinion as a supervisor. You don't have enough information to make a decision whether or not you want a deputy clerk or not. How can you, I don't have enough information to decide.
Well, that's why, we're not even going down that road.
You're asking me to make a vote on whether I want to pursue going down the deputy
Then
clerk
abstain,
road.
then abstain.
Correct.
Yeah, I understand that, we still gotta take a vote on it.
I think you're better off taking a straw poll on it versus taking a vote on it. But, that's fine. So I guess.
I
if
guess
your
I just look
motion
at
is-
it tonight, that's how simple it is.
It's not that simple,
It is.
not really.
It's not that simple, I'll just say that.
Well, we decide if you want to have deputy clerk or not, that's,
I'm not gonna go down that road. I just, okay, I'll call for the motion. I guess the motion is are we gonna continue to go down and discuss whether or not we're gonna have a deputy clerk? Those in favor of having a deputy clerk, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Nay.
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 You only get one vote,
So
it's
it's tied.
tied. It's tied.
So what happens then? Nothing?
The clerk gets a vote. No.
No.
Yeah, the clerk gets a
It failed.
vote.
Well,
Clerk-
Actually, a clerk gets a vote.
appointment.
We're not, it's not an elected
No,
official.
it's not an elected, no.
You can't abstain.
The clerk does not get
That's
a vote.
insane.
I don't.
I didn't hear you.
No, I'm just, it's whatever the law is, I don't know
So
what.
the motion
The clerk
fails.
doesn't get a vote.
So the
Oh, I
motion
thought they
failed.
did, I just think.
No, the clerk doesn't get a vote. The motion failed. So, that resolves 8.5. 9.0, any old business? Hearing none, we'll move on to 10. Proposed agenda items for next monthly board meeting. I do have one. It's just purely a discussion item describing the decennial efficiency report that has been mandated by the state of Illinois. I'll go over what I've got prepared so far. So we have to have our first meeting by June 10th. And then, so the decennial report, yeah, I can email that to you. I'll send it off. Any other topics? So I guess, well, those will automatically from new business will drop down. Those that are being carried over to tabled,
Yeah,
those will drop down. Any other new topics for discussion?
Should we do anything regarding starting the process for an RFI for the playground equipment now that we're in the new budget session?
Yes, I'm taking care of
It's already out
that.
there,
Oh, is it? Okay.
right there.
What is it?
It's already out there, right? You didn't-
No, I haven't. I need to get with Eric and have him round up the playground equipment manufacturers and ask them to come in and give us a presentation. This is an example of why you need a full-time supervisor, by the way. Just to share that with you. Going to number 11, supervisor report. Any questions on my report? Hearing none, I go on to the assessor's report. Assessor Mahady, would you have the pleasure of reading your report or sharing it with the board?
Okay. Basically, we're already working on the 2023 assessments, which is, as a quadrennial, we're required to look at all of the assessments and make adjustments where needed. Since we've had significant increases in values over the last 3 years, there are possibilities of some significant increases in some assessments. My goal is to be able to get those into the county by early August so that assessment notices come out in September. That's a goal. It's a lot to do, but we're working on it. As part of that, my staff is out. We're trying to part of the problem, and just to kind of let the board know, in revaluing a lot of neighborhoods, we've had, since I've been here, we have revalued and walked many, many neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods were put in line at the time, and since the time that we revalued, we've had significant township factors, 5, 6, 7% every year. Those tend to be a little closer to where they're supposed to be now. And they'll still get an increase just because of the sale prices. But there's many areas that have not been, quite honestly, have not been walked or photographed in more than 40 years. So that's not going to all happen in this year, but it's part of the process, and we're using whatever information we have to make sure we have the right information. So other than that, just reminding people that the 2022 tax bills will be coming out in May. There should be the first week in May. From what I've seen so far, and I don't know a lot, I don't do the tax bills, but it looks like, you know, even with an increase in assessments, tax rates tend to be around the same or a little bit lower. And I just wanted to, part of what I'm doing, I'm doing a Facebook Live thing every third Wednesday, and we're getting a good response on that. It's going on our website as well. So the Facebook, it's not my preferred source, but we do, it is recorded and out there for people to go back to if they wish to. And next Thursday, a week from today, I'm trying to have a little forum for real estate agents and lenders, because what we see a lot is people who don't understand what's going to happen when they're looking at buying a home right now, and they're looking at a 2021 tax bill, and kind of guiding them and making sure that people know that there's going to be some changes in those things. You know, they're paying $300,000 for a home and it's assessed at $150,000. It's not going to stay there. So, you know, we're doing that here next Thursday, and I know I sent that out to the board. Certainly, if you want to set a time to go over any questions you have on that or anything else, happy to do that. Just let me know. I'm happy to do that. And part of that, I just am encouraging people to start looking now at what the value of their home is, because we're already in the middle of April, and the numbers are out there already. So contacting a realtor, getting an appraisal, or just reading the newspaper. You can see the sales. So that's really about all I have. We are, because we are looking for another field person, again, to help with this, and I've gotten some responses, and we'll start doing some interviews at the end of the month.
Mary, I have one question. So you said quadrennials every 4 years that properties on a massive scale are kind of reassessed. How does it happen that some areas of the township will go 40 years then without a significant sort of look? Like how does it determine what areas are looked at when those, especially that haven't had a reanalysis, if you will, in that long a period?
So we have to look at, so every 4 years we're required to look at every property, okay? We can make changes in between those 4 years when we see that there's an area that, say, a neighborhood that all of a sudden everything's selling for $100,000 more. We can revalue that neighborhood based on the sales that are happening in that area, still looking at an average of a couple of years, but we look at everything every year to see where those changes have to happen to try to bring things in line. In 2010, when everything tanked and values went down, and then we started in 2016, we started getting township factors, and that township factor is intended to ideally bring the value to where it's a third of market value. But if you're wrong, it's that 6 or 7% still not going to bring you where you're supposed to be. So we try to look at the ones that are the most out of line each year, and then in the quad, it's an opportunity to make the most changes. And since we've had 3 years of sales, there's going to be could be some significant changes in some areas that haven't been, that weren't doing anything, and then all of a sudden for 3 years just took off. So those will make a difference.
So it's not that those areas haven't had any sort of adjustments in 40 years. There's been nothing significant in 40 years.
Correct. The township factor goes on every property, and so if we don't make, whatever changes we make, then the factor goes on top of that as well. But it's difficult we have a process that we go out on every home that sells, and it's just, in the past, a lot of homes weren't updated based on a sale, 10 or 12 years ago.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of homes that have been sold in a long time, so.
So there's been nothing to trigger you guys actually going out to look at it?
Correct. There are, and then in the last couple of years too, we've had a lot of new construction, which takes a lot of time to update that. So if we, ideally, they walk on every property, get all the information, but we have that opportunity when a home sells, when they have an addition, or when they take a permit and it's something that flags that we would add value for, we would go out there. But we get permits for roofs or siding, we don't assess that kind of stuff. And we don't have time to go out on those things. We have to go out on the ones that are going to make a difference in the value. But that makes it harder in the quad when I'm looking through neighborhoods and, I don't have a drawing or don't have a picture. And so we look at the multiple listing and Redfin and wherever we can find information to be more accurate. And it's still not going to be a perfect system. It's mass appraisal. We anticipate we'd see a lot of appeals just because they're maybe even if their value is correct, they might appeal just because it's a big jump.
Yeah. Okay.
But another field person will help in catching up on a lot of these things that we haven't been able to. Bob has a question.
Is this an additional field person, or do you already have the slot available, or is it an entirely new slot?
I had a third and then wasn't able to hire someone until this coming budget. So people come and go. People leave for different reasons. I lost someone last September for a different, could make more money somewhere else.
Now, this is actually a general question. Does it require an action of the board to enable you to have an additional slot?
Additional? Yes.
Well, they do it in, my budget. They have to approve my budget, and I would have to ask for additional funding for an additional person.
So
they did that.
That's pretty much what the clerk would have to do to get a deputy clerk, then, I would think.
Well, if they want to pay them,
yeah.
But
doesn't have to get paid.
Well,
the clerk does not have to get paid.
And this is a stupid question, but when the property is sold, do you reevaluate it based on the sale price at that time, or is that just thrown into the hopper as like what you look at as the general value increase in that neighborhood?
So when a property sells, the reason we go out there is to make sure we have the right information. And actually, if a house is sold, within 5 years, we typically don't go out again. We just don't have time to keep going out every time it sells. And we've had a lot of homes that have resold. But we don't change the value. We're not allowed to chase the sales. That's against the law. So We don't raise them or lower them if someone pays a different price than what it's assessed at. But no, we don't, that doesn't trigger it. But when there's a lot of activity in a neighborhood, that would trigger a reassessment of the entire neighborhood. So we wouldn't, you're not picking on one property.
No, that answers my question.
Any other questions? Without any, move on to the Highway Commissioner's report. It was in the packet. If there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to take it back to them and ask them. You can get those to me, or you can ask them yourselves. I
do have one, Gary, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's got to do with Mount Condon out there, whatever you want to call it.
No, what?
That huge pile of chips we got back there. I asked, why can we not let that go further deep instead of wide? Because we're taking up parking spots. So my question is, why can't we let it go further along the fence line rather taking up parking spots? That's my only question.
I think the grand plan was to eventually put down limestone and have stone barriers.
Well, I understand that, but
So
now
there's
it is
a
what it is. I'm
budgetary
just asking, can we ask Jim to go the other way with it instead of wide?
I can ask him, absolutely.
Because the grass area is not being used otherwise.
Still pushed up against the fence towards the moose.
But no, we continue what direction here. It'll be going south along the fence line.
Yeah.
Moose's
Back
fence
towards
line.
the woods.
Yeah, back towards the woods, exactly. Instead of taking up 5 or 6 parking spots.
But there's only like 3 parking spots that are over there that are unused.
Well, it
The
sure
rest of it's
seems like
open.
more than that.
The rest of it's just unused pavement that's in the corner.
Well, I still think we should not take up any parking spots, because we drove through there last night. I know Adam was right behind me. We drove back there last night. And
Yeah, it gets
was-
packed back there.
it
I
was
hear
packed
you.
back
I hear
there.
you.
Yeah, that pile has grown quite a bit in
Oh,
size.
substantial.
Well, that's from our storm damage.
Correct, no, but I understand the reason. I mean, it's not the, it's not the issue.
No, I'm just letting you guys know where it came from.
Yeah, got to
So
put it somewhere.
you do know that there's a regular post for free mulch for nobody comes to get.
I saw it, I read it today.
Yeah, that's something I've seen ever since I've been back, is that there is a regular posting of free mulch.
There is, it's highlighted in yellow too.
Yeah. So we try to get the word out several different ways.
I understand that,
to get- Yeah,
we're
but I
taking
will
pregnancy,
ask, I will talk to Jim, absolutely, the highway commissioner. Executive session 14, there's no need for one. Any board member comments?
The only one I can make is I hope it comes up again to appoint a deputy clerk. I see it as an opportunity to bring someone into the fold that understands township and township government. And I think it'd be a great opportunity. Whether we pay him or not is not an issue for me. It's just, I think it just brings some, my dad always said 2 heads are better than 1. And that's where I'm coming from with this.
I actually agree with John fully, actually, from the story that Danny said about when she started. Pay piece aside, I think it's good to get someone experienced.
Oh,
Okay. Mr. Yeager? Nothing? I don't have any comments. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:14. All those in favor? Aye.
We need a second.
you did yours.
Oh, we need a second, I'm sorry.
Second.
All those in favor to adjourn at 8:15?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, don't go anywhere, guys.
Mary, take care.
Thank you, Mary.
Good seeing you.
Have a good night.
You too? Good seeing you.
See you in the morning, Eric.
Is that it?
On the second one,
Oh, it says here.
down at the two.
Everyone have a good night. Good night.
You too, Jim.
Night.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually not here in the morning.
Regular trustees.